Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Dentistry Media. Today we'll discuss about anti-anginal drugs. Initially I've given a small description about ischemic heart disease and the different types of angina, and then in detail about the pharmacology of anti-anginal drugs. The coronary arteries are the large conducting arteries which run epicardially and give collateral vessel to the endocardial region. The coronary blood flow mainly occurs during diastole. The ischemic heart disease is the atherosclerotic disease of the coronary arteries, which is caused by plaque buildup on the inner wall of the coronary artery. Because of this, the vessel becomes stiff and narrow and the blood supply reduces. And the most common symptom reported is angina or chest pain. Sometimes the plaque could also break off, leading to attraction of platelet and progressive blockage of the artery. It can cause myocardial infarction or sudden death. Angina pectoris is a pain syndrome which has a characteristic sudden, severe pressing chest pain which radiates to the neck, jaw, back and the arms. It occurs due to the coronary flow that is insufficient to meet the oxygen demand of the myocardium. That is, there is an imbalance which happens between the oxygen demand and the supply, which may occur during an emotional stimuli like anxiety or fear, or due to physical exertion, or because of the spasm of the vascular smooth muscle, or due to the obstruction of the blood vessel by an atherosclerotic lesion. The ischemic episodes in angina pectoris are transient and they do not cause cellular death such as that occurs in myocardial infarction. Therefore, the two major strategies for the treatment and prevention of angina pectoris is to decrease the oxygen requirement or to increase the blood supply to the ischemic region. Now let us learn quickly about the different types of angina before going into their management. The first type is the classical angina. The second one, it is a variant, or it is also called as a Prinzmetal or vasospastic angina. And the third one, it is the unstable angina. Classical angina is the most common form and it can be provoked by exercise, emotions, etc. But it gets relieved by rest. Therefore, it is also called as effort-induced angina or stable angina. It occurs due to the severe atherosclerotic affliction of the larger coronary arteries. Therefore, what happens is during an exercise or an emotional stimuli, as the coronary obstruction is fixed, the blood flow fails to increase during the increased demand despite the local factors mediated dilatation of the resistant vessel. Therefore, an ischemic pain is felt. Due to inadequacy of the ischemic left ventricle, the end diastolic left ventricular pressure rises from 5 to 25 mm of mercury. Therefore, it produces the subendocardial crunch during diastole. That is less time in diastole. As we know, the blood flow to the subendocardial region occurs only during diastole. This subendocardial crunch therefore further compromises the coronary blood flow. In turn, it aggravates ischemia. The second type is the variant angina. It is also called as Prinzmetal or vasospastic angina. It is in uncommon form and can occur at rest or during sleep also. Therefore, it is highly unpredictable and it occurs due to the recurrent localized coronary vasospasm alone, or it can be superimposed on atherosclerotic coronary artery disease, in turn resulting in reduced blood flow. The third type is the unstable angina and it occurs mostly due to the rupture of an atheromatous plaque which acts as a neck for platelet deposition, leading to progressive occlusion of the coronary artery. Therefore, there will be rapid increase in the duration and the severity of the attack. The anti-anginal drugs are those that prevent, abort or terminate the attacks of the angina pectoris, but they do not alter the course of the coronary artery pathology. That is, there is no permanent benefit. But remember, the drugs like aspirin, ACE inhibitors and statins, they can modify the coronary artery disease and improve the prognosis. The anti-anginal drugs are pharmacologically classified as nitrates, beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, potassium channel openers and others. The nitrates are further classified as short-acting or long-acting. Under short-acting comes the glyceryl trinitrate and nitroglycerin, and under long-acting are the following drugs, that is isosorbide dinitrite, isosorbide mononitrate, erythritol tetranitrate and so on. The beta blockers like propranolol, metoprolol and atenolol and others have anti-anginal property. Calcium channel blockers, verapamil, diltiazem, nifedipine, felodipine, amlodipine, nitridipine and so on Under potassium channel opener comes in nicorandil and others includes dipyridamole, trimetazidine and ranolazine. Clinically, they are classified as the ones which are used to terminate an acute attack and the ones which are used for chronic prophylaxis. The sublingual tablets of glyceryl trinitrate and isosorbide dinitrate are used to terminate an acute attack. All the other drugs are used for chronic prophylaxis. Now let us see the individual drug groups. The first are the organic nitrates. These are simple nitric and nitrous acid esters of glycerol. They differ only in their volatility. And the prototype drug is the glyceryl trinitrate. The nitrates, they act by relaxing the veins. Thereby they decrease the preload and the myocardial oxygen consumption. Also, their second major role is to inhibit the coronary spasm. Thereby they increase the perfusion. They have the major role in relieving vasospastic angina. Now let us see the mechanism of action in detail. These nitrates, they dilate the veins, thereby they cause peripheral pooling of the blood, which in turn causes decreased venous return, that is the preload is reduced, which causes decreased end diastolic pressure, thereby abolishing the subendocardial crunch and decreasing the cardiac work. Now let us see how this venodilation occurs. The calcium is essential for the phosphorylation or activation of this myosin light chain kinase, which activates the myosin and enhances excitation contraction coupling by interacting with the actin. I have given a small animation for the role of calcium in muscle contraction in my previous video on the topic calcium channel blockers. Please find the link in the description box and do watch it. Now let us see how these organic nitrates work. These organic nitrates are rapidly denitrated enzymatically to release the free radical, that is nitric oxide, which further activates the cytosolic guanylyl cyclase, which increases the level of cyclic guanosine monophosphate. What this does is it causes dephosphorylation or inactivation of this myosin light chain kinase, further favoring relaxation. Also, this increased level of guanosine monophosphate inhibits the entry of the calcium to the calcium channels, further favoring relaxation. These nitrates, they relax the bigger conducting coronary arteries than the arterioles or resistance vessels. Therefore, they cause favorable redistribution of the blood flow to the ischemic areas, but the total coronary flow is not increased because the small vessels in the ischemic area are also maximally dilated, as the ischemia is a powerful vasodilator. Therefore, the blood flow to this region is selectively increased on dilation of the large vessels and the collaterals. Therefore, the coronary vasodilatory action is mainly responsible for the therapeutic benefit of nitrates in the variant type of angina. On higher doses, these nitrates can cause arteriolar dilation, thereby slightly decreasing the total peripheral resistance or the afterload. On the other smooth muscles, they also relax the bronchi, the biliary tract and the esophagus. The nitrates have no direct stimulant or depressant action on the heart. Their peripheral action includes they dilate the cutaneous and the meningeal vessels, which are responsible for the adverse effects like flushing and headache. They decrease the renal and the splanchnic blood flow to compensate vasodilatation. Also, they decongest the lungs by shifting the blood to the systemic circulation. As seen with other vasodilators, the adverse effects of nitrates includes tachycardia, thrombic headache, flushing, weakness, sweating, palpitation and dizziness. Another problem with the use of nitrates is the development of tolerance on chronic use. Therefore, they require at least 8 hours of drug-free period per day. And no tolerance effect is seen on the intermittent use of sublingual glyceryl trinitrate tablet for attacks of angina. The phosphodiesterase inhibitors like sildenafil, which is used for erectile dysfunction, should never be prescribed with nitrates because they can cause severe hypotension, myocardial infarction or death. And when given with other vasodilators, they can cause additive hypotension. Now let us see the individual drugs under the organic nitrates. The glyceryl trinitrate is a highly volatile liquid, therefore it can be given to the sublingual route, which has an onset of action within 1 to 2 minutes and the peak blood level reaches within 3 to 6 minutes. All this makes them suitable for the management of an acute attack. They have a plasma half-life of only for 2 minutes and the duration of action depends on the period it remains available for absorption from the buccal mucosa. The The sustained release oral capsule of glycerol trinitrate contains higher amount of the drug, therefore they are used for chronic prophylaxis. As these drugs can be readily absorbed from the skin, they can be given to the transdermal route, which has an onset of action within 60 minutes, and it has an added advantage of steady delivery for a duration of 24 hours. But remember, the development of tolerance and dependence jeopardize its value. The intravenous route provides a rapid steady plasma concentration, therefore they can be used for the management of unstable angina, coronary vasospasm, hypertension, and also in the management of left ventricular failure accompanying myocardial infarction. The isosorbide dinitrate is slower in action than glycerol trinitrate when given through sublingual route. Its peak blood level reaches in 5 to 8 minutes and it has a plasma half-life of 40 minutes. The sustained release formulation provides protection for a duration of 6 to 10 hours. Therefore, they are used for the management of acute attack of angina and also for chronic prophylaxis. Isosorbide mononitrate is the active metabolite of isosorbide dinitrate and it has a very little first pass metabolism and the bioavailability is very high. Therefore, it has a longer activity with a plasma half-life of 4 to 6 hours. The erythritol tetranitrate and pentaerythritol tetranitrate are longer acting nitrates, therefore they are used for chronic prophylaxis. Now let us see the uses. Nitrates are used for the management of classical or the variant type of angina. The drugs used includes the nitroglycerin or isosorbide dinitrate can be used sublingually for the management of acute attacks of angina, and nitroglycerin either oral or transdermal route and other nitrates by oral route are preferred for the management of prophylaxis of angina. The nitrates are also effective in unstable angina, but the antiplatelet drugs are the primary measure. In congestive heart failure and acute left ventricular failure, nitrates can be used as they cause venous pooling of the blood leading to reduced preload, which in turn decreases the end diastolic volume leading to improvement in the left ventricular function. Therefore, intravenous glycerol trinitrate are the choice for emergency use. In myocardial infarction, if the nitrates are started soon after the arterial occlusion, they can relieve the pulmonary congestion and can limit the area of necrosis by favorably altering the oxygen balance in the marginal partially ischemic zone, thereby reducing the cardiac work. In interventional procedures like the percutaneous coronary angioplasty, nitrates are used as they can dilate the coronaries, and also the sublingual glycerol trinitrate as they relax the smooth muscles of the biliary tract and the esophagus. They are useful in the management of biliary colic and esophageal spasm. Nitrates are used in the management of cyanide poisoning because the nitrites can convert the hemoglobin to methemoglobin, which has a high affinity for the cyanoid ions, leading to the formation of cyanomethemoglobin. The beta blockers are the second group of drugs which are used for the management of angina pectoris. They act by two major mechanisms. The first is by suppressing the action of the heart by blocking the beta 1 receptors. Thereby, they reduce the cardiac work, that is by decreasing the heart rate, the contractility, the cardiac output and the mean blood pressure. And the second mechanism of action includes decreasing the oxygen demand of the myocardium by lowering the rate and the force of contraction of the heart. Therefore, they decrease the frequency and the severity of the attack. As a beta blocker, reduce the oxygen demand by the myocardium during exercise or anxiety. They are the drug of choice for the treatment of effort-induced angina. And beta blockers can be given with nitrates to increase the exercise duration and tolerance. But remember, they are contraindicated in asthmatic diabetic patients and in patients with severe bradycardia, peripheral vascular disease and in chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. The beta blockers are contraindicated in the variant type of angina because they do not dilate coronary vessel, rather they cause vasoconstriction because of the unopposed alpha receptor mediated action on the coronary artery. Thereby, it can accentuate coronary spasm. They are routinely used in unstable angina, but they started usually after the nitrates and calcium channel blockers. Therefore, beta blockers are the only anti-anginal drugs which decrease the mortality in patients with ischemic heart disease post myocardial infarction. The calcium channel blockers are the third group of drugs which are used for the management of angina pectoris. They reduce the afterload and they increase the coronary flow. Verapamil, diltiazem, and the long-acting dihydropyridines are frequently used, and they are effective in the management of classical and the variant angina. Hey guys, I've given a separate video on the topic of calcium channel blockers. Please find the link in the description box and do watch it. The potassium channel openers are the next group of drugs. Nicorandil is a novel anti-anginal drug and it has four major actions. The first it includes, it inactivates the ATP sensitive potassium channel, thereby causing hyperpolarization of the vascular smooth muscle, leading to arterial dilatation. It also acts like nitrates by donating nitric oxide. It increases the concentration of cyclic guanosine monophosphate. Thereby, it relaxes the smooth muscles present in the vein, causing venodilatation. Thus, there is arterial dilatation coupled with venodilatation. They cause dilatation of both the epicardial conducting and the deeper resistant vessels, thereby increasing the coronary blood flow. They also have a unique property of opening the mitochondrial ATP-dependent potassium channel, which is believed to exert myocardial protection by a process called as ischemic preconditioning. This ischemic preconditioning is almost similar to the Ivan Pavlov's conditioned reflex theory, and it is defined as short ischemic controlled episode with intervening reperfusion. What it does is it occludes the blood vessel for some times and then reperfusion occurs, and it is done in regular intervals. Therefore, there is a brief period of reversible ischemia which increases the heart's tolerance to a subsequent longer period of ischemia, and it has shown beneficial effect by reducing the infarct size in post myocardial infarction patients. Unlike the nitrates, tolerance does not develop with the potassium channel openers. They have a myocardial protective function through the ischemic preconditioning. The beneficial effects on the anginal frequency and exercise tolerance are almost comparable to that of the nitrates, beta blockers and calcium channel blockers. The adverse effects includes flushing, palpitation, weakness, headache, nausea, vomiting and large aphthous ulcers. Dipyridamole is a powerful coronary dilator with the primary action on the arterioles. That is, it dilates all the small autoregulatory vessels even in the non-ischemic zone also. As we know, ischemia is a powerful vasodilator and it dilates the resistant vessels in that area. Because of this, the blood vessels in the ischemic area cannot be further dilated by dipyridamole and the blood is diverted away from this area to the non-ischemic zone. And this phenomenon is known as the coronary steal phenomenon, and it is responsible for the therapeutic failure of the drug. Trimetazidine is a novel anti-anginal drug and they act by inhibiting the lipid peroxidation. Therefore, these drugs reduce the generation of free radicals and protect the myocardium from the harmful effects of ischemia. Thus, they provide the beneficial effects via the non-hemodynamic mechanism. They have no effect on the heart rate and the blood pressure both at rest as well as during exercise. And they have shown to reduce the angina frequency and increase exercise capacity. Therefore, they are used as an additional medication to conventional therapy for the management of angina and in post-myocardial infarction patients. Ranolazine is a novel anti-anginal drug and it acts by blocking the late sodium current. Therefore, it reduces the calcium overload in the myocardium and it has no effect on the heart rate and the blood pressure, but in clinical trials they have shown to prolong the exercise duration and the time to angina. Therefore, these drugs are used for the management of chronic angina in patients who fail to respond adequately to the standard therapy and in combination with conventional therapy. But remember, they are not to be used for the management of acute anginal attacks. When monotherapy is inadequate to provide adequate relief, concurrent use of 2 or 3 drugs can be done. The rational drug combination in the management of classical angina is beta blocker with a long-acting nitrate. They have the added advantage, that is, the tachycardia caused by the nitrates can be blocked by the beta blocker. The tendency of the beta blocker to cause ventricular dilatation can be counteracted by the nitrates, and the tendency of the beta blocker to reduce the total coronary flow can be opposed by the nitrates. The above advantage can also be obtained by the combination of beta blocker with a slow-acting dihydropyridines. Severe vasospastic angina can be managed by the combination of calcium channel blockers with the nitrates. These calcium channel blockers, they mainly reduce the afterload and the nitrates, they decrease the preload. These two in combination, they decrease the cardiac work to an extent not possible with either of the drug alone. In severe and resistant cases of classical angina, all the three drugs can be combined, which gives a superadditive result. The nitrates, they decrease the preload. The beta blockers, due to their direct action on the heart, they decrease the cardiac work. And the calcium channel blockers mainly reduce the afterload and they increase the coronary flow. But remember, verapamil or diltiazem should be avoided in such combinations. Angina is clinically important to dentistry. The patients with a history of angina represent an increased risk because it can be precipitated in such patients by the sight of a local anesthetic syringe, dental instruments, scalpel, or forceps, and as most dental procedures are stressful, the stress can also precipitate it. Therefore, the knowledge about the condition enables prompt identification of the symptoms, and understanding the pharmacology of the drug helps to manage such events more efficiently. The few important takeaways: the nitrate preparation which is least likely to develop tolerance is the sublingual nitroglycerin. Beta blockers are effective in the management of angina by decreasing the cardiac work. But remember, they lack vasodilatory property which is seen in the nitrates and the calcium channel blockers. The nitrate which escapes the first pass metabolism is the isosorbide mononitrate. Amyl nitrate has a very rapid onset and brief duration of action. It is the shortest acting drug, therefore it is used for the treatment of angina by inhalation. Dipyridamole is a classical example of pharmacological success but therapeutic failure of the drug due to the coronary steal phenomenon. And nitroglycerin is a drug of choice for esophageal spasm. Thank you for watching and do subscribe for more videos related to dentistry.